You read the title correctly. Under this tarp is the brand new 2023 Kawasaki H2 I just purchased. Now, I'm not going to beat around the bush, have some clickbait title, not tell you guys how much I paid for it for till 20, 30 minutes into the video. I paid 20 bucks for this whole bike. Now, there is a reason for that. I'm sure you can tell because it's on a pallet. I bought this from a gentleman who bought it from an insurance auction. Now, I'm sure you know what that means. It probably was in a wreck, stolen, caught on fire, maybe all of it. Now, before we beat around the bush too much longer, I'm going to show you guys what this thing looks like. Quit booing. It's really beautiful. Now, I know what you're thinking. Looking at this, why the hell would somebody even pay 20 bucks for that? It's literally just a hunk of scrap. Now, there is a reason for it. If all else fails, this whole thing is worth more than 20 bucks worth of scrap. The frame, the motor, all that stuff, a junkyard or a scrapyard would give me about 30, 40 bucks for it all together. Now, there is a reason I bought this, and we're going to get into that, but let me tell you guys about how I bought this. Now, I was on the lookout for a liter to 1200cc bike to replace my ZX7R. I have a 95 ZX7R that I ride. I'm looking to upgrade into something that's a little bit bigger, a little bit, faster, has a little bit more cushy of a seat for longer rides. Now, I love Kawasaki. I've always been a Kawasaki guy for street bikes. I grew up with Yamahas, four-wheelers, dirt bikes, all that kind of stuff. But for street biking, I always love my Kawasaki's. Sorry, had to move the camera a little bit. I'm a little bit new to YouTube. Obviously, you can tell this is my first video. But like I said, I've always been a Kawasaki guy for street bikes. Now, I found on Facebook a 2003 ZZR 1200. Needed a lot of work. It was an auction bike. Somebody had wrecked it. A guy had bought it to fix it up. Never got around to it. It just sat in his backyard for a long time. So I hit the guy up. I'm like, hey, it's been up there on Facebook for a little bit. You got it up there for 300 bucks. Would you take 200 bucks? It came with a parts bike that has just a frame and a motor on it, some electrical. And the guy's like, you know what? Cool. That'd be awesome. Just get it out of my way. I had a buddy pass away, and I'm bringing a bunch of his old bikes over, and we're just kind of cleaning shop. Just come get it. So I go out there, make the drive out there, pick up the bike, and we're pulling up he's got a skid loader. He's pulling up a skid loader to grab the bike that looks just about like this. It wasn't caught on fire, but it's in the same shape, just the frame and motor and some wiring. And we're picking up the skid loader, and he goes, hey, you want to see my 2023 Kawasaki H2 I just bought? And I'm like, dude, I would love to. I'm thinking, he's going to show me this bike, rev it a couple times. I'm going to hear the, the supercharger whine, the supercharger flutter, all that fun stuff. And he shows me this. And I'm like, what the hell happened to this thing? And he goes, well, I'm an auction buyer. I buy auction bikes, flip them, keep a couple of them, resell them to some buddies, part them out, all that kind of stuff. He's, just a bike dealer. He does all that stuff. And he saw this up on a Copart auction, and he just put in a minimum bid of 25 bucks. He figured somebody would outbid him. If all else fails, he'd take the supercharger badge off of it, hang it on the shop, and scrap the rest. So he ended up winning it for 25 bucks. Now, he brought it home. He was taking the supercharger badge off of it, and he's like, I'm just going to scrap the rest of it. I don't need it. It's going to go in the scrap pile. I'm like, you know what? I'll give you your 25 bucks back. Well, I can, in the very least, turn the motor into a table, or just, hang it up in my shop and say, hey, look at me. I got my dream bike at, 22. Kawasaki H2, $30,000 bike. I got it at 22 for a steal, only 20 bucks. And he's like, you know what? Cool. Why not? So we took the supercharger badge off of it. We loaded it up into the back of my truck. I brought it home, with all the other bikes. And I bring it home, and I start looking at it. I'm going, you know what? There might be hope, in the very least, for this motor. I don't believe the frame is worth it to fix it back up. It definitely got hot. There is some chrome left on it, some chrome, kind of like, where they have the galvanized aluminum, where it's all shiny and stuff like that. I don't think it got hot enough to really loosen all the welds and everything like that, but it wasn't a pretty bad accident. The gentleman or lady or whoever the hell they are, was definitely, I don't know, racing or just on the highway and made a mistake or something bad, because this thing's frame near the forks is bent. I don't know if you can see it from this angle, but the frame's about here, and the forks are bent inward pretty hard. Now, I'm sure some of that's from the fire, from all the aluminum, loosening all the mounts and everything for the forks, because all that stuff is aluminum. It's not, steel, anything like that. It's going to handle a lot of heat. But they bent it in pretty hardcore. Now, I don't know what state this thing originally came from. I didn't even think to ask, because I was going to turn it into a table. But I know in some states, when things get this bad, they have a certificate of destruction, which, if you're not familiar, it's not a rebuildable title. It's not something you can, put some work into, bring it to a sheriff's office, get it inspected, and get it back on the road. It's legitimately a certificate of destruction. That thing can only ever be destroyed. It can't be put back on the road in any way, shape, or form. Like I said, without knowing the history of this bike, and with the frame being so bad, it's going to need a new frame. I can get one of those on eBay for about 600 bucks with a title, which is what I'm going to do. I have brought this motor to a few of my welding buddies. Figured, if anybody knows about, metal getting hot, what to look for, for fatigue, cracks, all that stuff, they would know. And they looked it over and they said, hey, you know what? I don't really think it got hot enough to really mess up the block. There are a few things wrong with the motor, obviously. I mean, it caught on fire. It's not going to be ready to rip. But most of that stuff is savable. Most of the parts, you can actually find basically a whole Kawasaki H2 on eBay if you're looking for the right parts. Some of the parts I do have to get from a Kawasaki dealership, and some of them are extremely expensive. Like, for instance, the gauge cluster on one of these bikes, it's about $3,800. Couldn't find them anywhere on eBay when I was pricing it out to see what it would take to rebuild this thing. Called up at a Kawasaki dealership, and they're like, well, I mean, we could get you one. They still make them, but they'll be about $3,800. And I'm like, holy crap. I mean, I know that's something way down the line that I'm not going to need for, a long time looking at this bike, with everything it needs. But I'm like, holy crap, this is going to be an expensive bike to rebuild. But on the bright side, most of the parts you can find aftermarket on eBay or just used on eBay. The fairings and everything like that, you can find used sets on eBay for not that expensive, about $500-600. Tires, you can find about the same. I found some on Facebook Marketplace actually for $200 a pop, front and rear, about $400 that have new rims and new tires. Swing arm, I can buy used ones, same thing on eBay. I can, buy the used frame, buy the forks, buy all that stuff. And I do believe for about half the price of what it would take to buy a new one of these, I can have a fully functional H2. Now, it all kind of hinges on this motor. Now, I do believe, like I said, I took it to a few people and they think it's going to be all right. But, I mean, it's not a guarantee. This thing clearly got hot. I'm going to show you where it got the hottest, kind of the good things, the bad things about it. But I am going to be doing a full rebuild series on this channel. Now, as of right now, it's going to be going back into another Kawasaki H2. Like I said, I love those bikes. I love Kawasaki. I just love them to death. I've always wanted an H2. As of right now, I'm going to put it back into an H2 frame. But let's say I find something in there, that really makes it where this motor might not be the safest thing in the world to ride on the street. I might end up turning it. I have a bunch of four-wheelers in there, a couple old Raptor 660s, a couple Raptor 700s that don't have motors in them. If all else fails and I can't make this motor completely reliable, where I want to, road trip it across state lines, and take the bike on long trips, I'd put it in one of those, or even maybe a go-kart or something like that. I have a bunch of things that this motor could go into if it's not safe or streetable enough to be on a street bike. So there's a lot of different plans with this motor. All of it hinges on what we find when we take it apart. Now, that I'm not really going to get into that much on this video. I work a 9-to-5 job, 5 days a week. I'm kind of busy. I'm on a single dude's income. I'm not making extremely bank where I have $10,000 to just drop into this thing right now. It's going to be a little bit of a prolonged process, but I am going to show you guys everything about it. From the ground up, me buying the parts, me paying the shipping, me taking it to, a shop to have it aligned, me taking it to a shop to have it tuned. All this stuff has some flies flying around. All this stuff, this new computer stuff, you need a lot of the specialty tools that I straight up don't have. Making keys, stuff like that. I have a lot of older bikes in there. I have about 12 bikes in there that I'm going to show you guys rebuilding, a bunch of different series and stuff like that down the road. But most of that stuff in there is carbureted. In fact, I think this is the only fuel-injected bike I own, and it's kind of not really fuel injected anymore because there's none of that stuff left, apart from a little bit of the injectors that didn't burn. But like I said, I'm going to show you guys everything from the ground up on this bike. Programming, what to expect, cost-wise, where to go, the good shops I find, the bad shops I find. I am in the Iowa area. I'm in the bottom part of Iowa near Missouri. Kind of out in the middle of nowhere. Out here, there's a lot of farms, a lot of bars, and that's about it. To the nearest Walmart for me is about a 45-minute drive one direction. The nearest McDonald's about a 30 in one direction. So we kind of are out in the middle of nowhere. But on the bright side, there are a lot of older boys that ride a lot of Harleys. So I have a few of them going, to go by and where to bring this thing to get it calibrated, where to bring this thing to for, welding work, old farmers implements, they've got a bunch of welding shops that, weld up tractors, things like that. So if I ever need any weird custom things done, or, custom weird fabrication shops or machine shops and all that stuff. On the bright side, there are a lot of those old boys down here that do that stuff. So I do have a truck that I'll be bringing it around in. I have this little cart that it's on right now with wheels on it that I can move it around. Kind of in the perfect spot for it, kind of out in the middle of nowhere where when I get it running and driving, I can kind of take it on the road without everything on it. The cops probably won't bother me too much. Or even if I do put it on one of them four-wheelers, I can probably take that thing on rips. And I don't think the cops would mind too much, as long as I'm not being an idiot. Now, I'm going to show you guys around this bike, what's left of it, and show you the good, the bad, and the ugly. Now, clearly, things got hot. I'm not going to lie about that. But there was a lot of things that showed me that it didn't get as hot as it possibly could. The side cover here did start to melt, but everything under it was protected. The plastic did get hot, but all the important metals under here stayed completely fine. And on top of that, I pulled the supercharger off the top of the bike because it looked like it was going to spin. And sure enough, it still spins just fine on both sides. Now that made me think, well, if those two didn't get too hot, let's look at the bottom of the block. Now looking from this angle, you can see right into the motor. This is where the oil pan used to be, right there. But it looks really bad, but just hear me out on this, okay? We're going to be using our handy-dandy DeWalt for a flashlight because I'm a mechanic. I don't believe in having all the correct parts because that would make my life too easy. We can't have that. Let me show you guys up inside this motor. Now, if we look up in here, the oil pickup obviously got hot right there, but all these gears, everything up under there, did not get as hot as it could have been. All this stuff in here still has oil covering it. It's not showing any signs of really bad warpage, or that guy right there is showing a little bit of rust, which means it probably did get a little bit hot, but I don't think it's the end of the world for it. Most of the stuff in there is not showing any rust. It still has oil covering it. You know, a lot of things are showing that this bike did get hot. It clearly was involved in a fire, but I don't believe it's unsavable. I'll show you some more carnage here before kind of finishing up the video and let you guys know what to expect from it. Now, clearly the back swing arm here, basically gone. All this rusted away. This chain is kind of in there pretty hard. I don't think that's going anywhere. The shock literally melted in half. You can see the bottom end's gone. The top end's there. This guy hit it and was going really hard. Really, really fast, really hard into something, and it burnt down good. Really good. And I'll show you here this front end damage that I was talking about. As you can see, that whole frame is buckled inward. Now, when I rebuild this motor, I plan on keeping most of the internals stock. I know that's sacrilegious to some people. You know, people are like, oh my God, you had it apart. Why didn't you put, bigger pistons in it? Why didn't you put a stroker crank in it? Why didn't you put this? Why didn't you put that? Well, like I said earlier, I want this thing to be streetable. I want to be able to have fun with it, but also be able to drive it. Now, my Crown Vic that I'm building, it's a little bit of a weird tangent, but my Crown Vic's the same way. I'm putting a turbocharger on it. I'm pushing it right around a 350, 400 horsepower on a stock block. Mostly all I'm doing is different injectors, a different tune, things like that. It's more fun. I have a lot more, fun, a little bit more opportunity to play around in that car. I'm putting a 5-speed behind it. But at the end of the day, I still have it tuned. I still have different tunes saved where I can run it on 87 octane. I can run it on 91 octane. I don't have to be running, race fuel, things like that. I can drive it anywhere in the state. I can go road tripping on that car and still have fun with it. It's not going to be a fire-breathing monster that I can take to any drag strip and just whoop a Lamborghini with. But that's not my intention. I just want something that I can have fun with, still cruise. Sorry, it was just an idiot with a squatted truck. I kind of do that instinctively when I see a dumbass with a squatted truck with a fart can on it. Well, it was a diesel, but it had the big old exhaust on it, and he had the big old chrome rims with the tires that are about, paper thin. I completely lost my tangent on that. I lost my train of thought on that stupid squatted truck that drove by. It was sitting just like this, and now I'm just thinking of Whistling Diesel breaking it apart right now. It's giving me happy thoughts. But I'm going to show you guys every single, build from the ground up on this thing. I'm going to show you guys every single step of the way. It might take a while for videos to come out. I am just a dude that works a normal 9-to-5 job. I don't have, 10 grand to drop on this thing tomorrow. As of right now, I'm doing things part-time. I'm doing part-time. I do motorcycle things. I flip them. I buy them. I part them out. I do that part-time. The other part-time, when my dad needs help, he has a construction business, I help him out on it. It pays the bills. I'm not extremely well off, but it pays the bills, gives me a couple $100 extra to play with my cars and buy stupid things like this. My bills are always paid. I'm always happy. I'm not stressed all the time at work. I'm not climbing some corporate ladder and having to suck up to people, to get a promotion. Kind of where I'm at is I'm happy as long as my bills are paid. And it's going to give me more time to do things like this, do a build series on this, bike that it might take me a while, but as of right now, the first couple episodes might roll out semi-frequently. Most of this stuff's really just going to be tearing down, and that's something that I'm really familiar with. I do a lot of things. Like I said, I part out bikes. I'm familiar with tearing bikes down, seeing what parts are good, seeing what parts are bad, inspecting for damage, looking around for different parts. What I'm going to do, a semi coming by. What I'm going to do probably for next episode is split the motor off this frame, get everything separated, see, kind of where I'm at, see what to expect with this motor, kind of, you know, what I'm going to need parts wise. I know I'm going to need a valve cover because that's melted, but I don't know if the head's going to be any good. I don't know if the valves are going to be any good. I don't know if the crankshaft's going to be any good. I don't know if the, you know, the supercharger is going to be any good. It spins, but it might have, you know, completely fried bearings. It might, you know, all the Teflon inside might have got melted. The bottom of the block might be completely junk from that crack. You know, I might not be able to find somebody that can patch it. I'm just going to kind of play this by ear. So I'm going to keep you guys updated as much as I possibly can. Subscribe if you want to stick around and see this thing, you know, run again, which is my plan. I do 100%. I'm going to try my best to get this thing running again. I think that this is probably the worst H2 you could ever buy, which is why I only bought it for 20 bucks. Oh, another semi is coming by. Alrighty, I keep going on tangents, and I'm probably going to cut most of this out. I probably have like 20 or 30 takes just of this alone, because I didn't really go with a script. I thought I'd be better than that, but I really should have written up a script last night. But I'm going to stop doing all my tangents. I'm going to end this video here. Like, subscribe, you know, share it around if you want to, you know, show some people. Be like, look at this idiot. He bought this stupid thing and he thinks he's going to get it running. Laugh at me. I don't care. But that's where this video is going to end. Like I said, I'm going to try to give you guys as much updates as I possibly can. I don't have like a social platform much, like Facebook, Instagram, anything like that. I mean, if this video starts taking off and people want to see that, leave it in the comments. If you know, if enough of you people want to see that, that's something I'd be willing to do. Like I said, I am just one person though. I do have, like I said, I have a lot of projects going on, so forgive me if uploads are a little bit slow or progress pictures are a little bit slow. Whenever the community tab is unlocked on my YouTube channel, I do plan on putting, you know, an update here every now and then. If I'm not doing a, you know, full YouTube video, like I said, if it's down the line where, you know, parts are getting pretty expensive and I have to wait a little bit to get them, that's completely fine. What am I talking about? I just keep going on tangents. I'm just going to end the video here. Well, this is my Kawasaki H2, my 2023. I hope you guys stick around and see me, you know, from the beginning. My dogs are barking back there. They're baby. But I'm going to try my best to keep you guys updated with everything about this. When my community tab gets unlocked, I plan to, you know, post on there like, hey, you know, just got this part in. Hey, I just got this part off. Hey, you know, the heads just got back from the machine shop. I plan to keep you guys as updated as I possibly can. But again, forgive me if it's not the quickest thing in the world. Like I said, I'm just one guy, just got one income from, you know, well, I really have two incomes from parting out bikes, but it's basically just one income from a full to part-time construction job, 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. Like I said, I've got other projects going on. It's going to be kind of a slow burn for a little bit, but hope you guys stick around.
Hello everyone, sorry for the delay here. I had planned to get this video out a lot sooner, but I had been fighting with my phone to get all this footage off of here for about the last couple hours. It's more like 7 hours here, but it wasn't really cooperating with me. I have a PC, but I have an iPhone that I record on, and all the software wasn't really working for me, so it was a big pain in the butt, but I was going to do an outro, I just didn't have the time to edit it here. It's about 6 o'clock, and I've got some other things I need to take care of here. But this is where the video is going to end here. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Share it around if you guys want to see it. I'm going to try my best to get this bike back on the road, and I'm going to bring you guys along for every single step of the way.